Welcome to the Serene-ish Podcast. We're two friends trying for serenity, but life happens.
I'm Larissa.
And I'm Brenda.
And we're glad you're here.
Each week we share honest conversations about navigating everyday life, faith, relationships, soul care, and all the messy in-betweens.
You'll hear reflections, a little laughter, and hopefully encouragement to find peace in your own journey, even if it's just serene-ish.
Hello, Larissa.
Hi, Brenda.
It's been a while. We've been I was just telling you, I'm so bad with these things. Like, what is it called? Two ships passing in the night. Did I say that right? Yes.
Yeah.
We've had some traveling in between us, and you are just coming back from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time our listeners hear this, I will just be coming back from the Netherlands. And so we had this little moment in between that we wanted to jump on here and connect and talk about what this first season of the Serene-ish Podcast has been like for us. But before we do that, I want to be able to hear about your trip, Larissa. So I will confess that I, like many people, am notorious for asking this question when someone goes on a trip. Oh my goodness, you went to Japan. How was your trip? And I know when people ask me something like that, it leaves me with I don't know how to answer that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's this, there's that. How much time do they have? What are they really asking? What they really want to know? So I've been trying to figure out different questions to ask that can go maybe a little bit deeper. And I also get that these experiences are are those called like prisms, where they have all these different angles, and depending on how the light hits it, they reflect differently, something like that, right? So there's all these different maybe angles and layers. And so I know that I'm probably going to miss something in there, but so I want to start out with this. Instead of, how was your trip, Larissa? I want to ask you, was there a moment in Japan where it was kind of like yourself telling yourself, dude, you're in Japan right now. Mm-hmm. You're here with your husband and with your kids. Yes, Larissa, you are having this experience right now. Did you have a moment like that?
I had so many moments like that. Yeah, first of all, we spent 8 days specifically in Tokyo, and it was our first time. Steve and I have both traveled internationally before. Neither of us have been to Japan, so it was our first time there. And then our kids for sure have never been to Japan and not really done long periods internationally. And so this is kind of a big adventure for everybody. All right, so the moment, there's so many, but Japan's public transportation, we rode the trains everywhere. The subways and the trains. We didn't rent a car. It's a great city to be able to do that, just because their public transportation system is pretty incredible. But right, once you're in any place's public transportation, I think it's just you're in a different system, a different kind of way things work with all these unspoken rules, right? And just you're in the middle of you are culturally displaced if you're not from that culture, right? All the people around you pretty much are from that culture. So I just remember the first time we were walking through the train station, and it was one of the busiest in Tokyo, which Tokyo is already busy and really jam-packed with people. So it's one of the busiest train stations. And you could just see there were a million signs of here's the 5 different trains that are intersecting here, and here's where to go if you need to go, right? There's tons of signs in Japanese and also in English. Most of it.
Oh, in English too.
Some of it was in English, maybe not all of it. But
I was wondering, how do you is there a lot of Google Translate going on?
Well, also that. Yeah, we had to Google Translate. We're using Chat GPT. We're so, but just that first moment of being in the middle of a train station with, I would say, 2 million people, all transferring stations and going to work. And it was during commuting hour. So it was really busy. And we're just standing there what? And we have to learn a whole thing. And you feel like, wow, we are really out of our element. And it was
Yeah.
so fun. And we just had to coach our kids, like, here's like just, we don't want to lose you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And I have a
very
story
important.
about that later about losing a kid. Um,
No.
but it was like so fun. And yeah, we just had to learn it. And I think that was one of the earliest moments in the trip. And throughout the whole trip, I mean, we had those kinds of, experiences of, okay, we this isn't our home and this isn't our home country or our home language. And so we gotta
Yeah.
like figure it out and we gotta ask questions and we want to be good guests. So
Yeah.
not trying to be like the, lame Americans who are taking up too much social space in public settings. That's a whole dynamic.
Right, right, right.
But yeah, it was so fun.
Oh my, I mean, you talk about a place to really feel, just like embody the whole reality of this is not, what is it? We're not in Kansas anymore, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
Like we are very far from home in
Yeah.
all of this. How did the kids navigate that?
They loved it. I mean, it took maybe a day of, yeah, just exploring the city. Like we intentionally had our first, I don't know, day or so pretty like open-ended, like not heavily scheduled. And so it kind of just allowed us to like ease in, adjust to the time difference and the jet lag and stuff.
Right.
And also, yeah, just have permission for ourselves to like just explore.
Yeah.
So the kids really like loved it. And yeah, it was just, especially our two older kids, they've taken some Japanese, so that I think they're familiar
Oh,
with Japanese language and culture a little bit. Um, yeah, they really enjoyed
wow.
it.
What a treat, especially having taken like some of the language to now actually be in that
Hmm.
place and
Yeah.
to hear it in its context, in its
Right.
proper context, you know?
Yeah. It
Was
was
there
so fun.
something that you felt like you learned about yourself or you were reminded of about yourself?
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think there's an element of Japanese culture that is hyper aware of being part of a collective
Mm,
versus we're individuals in a collective's like it
right.
we're and what I mean by that is like for example, in public spaces, there's kind of a way of being very aware of what other people need and not just what you need, but what others need, and like kind of doing what you can to serve others. And there's
Yeah.
like so many expressions of what that means. But for me, I think that's probably how I'm most naturally wired. And I like rules. Rules in the sense of I like knowing, okay, what are the social expectations? And then what's the appropriate way to like follow those, right? And
Right.
so I think the rigidity in some ways, and in some ways it kind of felt a little stifling to an American person, but I think there's some comfort in like, okay, everyone is aware of one another. And here's how you interact with people. And this is kind of the protocol. And I kind of enjoy that a little
So,
bit.
okay, give me an example of like a situation where there was like, you knew there was like a
Okay.
protocol.
Okay, so back to the public transportation, like
Uh-huh.
you would be on a train and it's like jam-packed with people. I mean, jam-packed. You're like, there's no sitting areas or whatever. But one of the clear rules is that if there are seats available, you always give that to elderly folks, folks with disabilities, pregnant moms, or moms with little kids, parents of little
Okay.
kids. So those are
Yeah.
the four groupings, which makes sense. And I think there's a
Right.
version of that here. Maybe on trains, it like maybe there's some signs to tell you that. But in this culture, it was like the moment an elderly person walks onto the train, literally everybody is aware. They see the elderly person, they're paying
Uh-huh.
attention, and like you see one or two people automatically very quickly offer their seat to that person. And even like because it's so packed, everyone else around those people have to kind of make some space,
Move so
so
they can.
you see a crowd of
Really?
people without even saying words. No, I
No.
need to create space for this thing to happen because it's in honor of this elderly person who needs the seat. And you see
Wow.
like the sea of people part, they sit and everyone just moves. And again, it's like no words or actual communication. Everyone just knows that that's like the way it's done. And I was like, this
Wow.
is kind of amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. We don't have it that strong here. I remember
Mm-mm.
that, like you said, that's a rule. That's like an unspoken rule. And I remember it stronger when I was younger,
Mm.
but I've seen it less and less as I've gotten like older, like that happening. Like I have like I literally see like, yeah, older, like no one it's just not as common
Right.
anymore. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It's just not as strong as it used to be when I was
Hmm.
younger. And definitely I don't remember it like what you're describing right there. So did you
Right.
know that before you went, or that was some like did you guys have things that you had to learn by just observation?
I think both. I think I was aware of that mostly from being in an East Asian culture, and also there's a lot of Japanese folks who live in Hawaii. So I think I knew,
Mm,
at least in theory, like, deference for the elderly, for example, or like unspoken rules that everyone
right.
knows. Like all of those things, I think I knew to some degree. But it was interesting, it was different to be immersed in a space where that really was like just a part of, like, baked in, right? Baked into the
Yeah,
DNA, baked into
right.
the values of a culture. Yeah, it was so interesting. But
Yeah, exactly.
I'm excited to hear about your trip, and I'll have questions, coming up. But is
Yes.
there something specific that have you been to the Netherlands before?
I've never been to the Netherlands.
Okay.
And yeah, my husband, Gerson's going, Brenson,
Hmm.
our oldest son, he's going. So we've not, yeah, none of us have actually ever been there. So we've been watching a lot of YouTube videos to
Hmm.
try and get familiar with what are some cultural norms over there. What does foods look like over there? Like just like what you were saying, wanting to be able to come respectfully into their home and their space. There's several people that are quite familiar with the area that we'll be with over there because it's for
Hmm.
the Communitas, the organization I'm on the board for, and it's for a conference for Europeans over there. So we've been able to get some tips from them, and we'll be with
Hmm.
them. So we won't. It'll be a little bit. It'll be yeah different where we're not going to be on our own
Hmm.
having to navigate that. But I'm looking forward to just being a part of the culture and
Okay, wait. Back to like learning a little bit about cultural norms or getting tips from other people who are familiar.
yeah.
Is there an example of something that stands out to you as, oh, that might be interesting to encounter in actual real life?
Yeah. So there's a word and I can't remember. I'm seeing it in my head, but there's a
Hmm.
word I guess that they use that it's very much about just the vibe, the very like chill kind of
Mm.
people. Like, oh, and they use that same word for those things. And if there's anyone listening that is like that's your culture, you probably know what that word is, and you're just
Uh-huh.
like dying, yelling it right now. Say the word. Like I can't, I just see it in my head. But there's like a word, so that's kind of giving me this like I'm kind of feeling like maybe it's just a really like relaxed kind of culture.
Hmm.
All the bikes that are there, so really not like a lot of like driving like your cars everywhere. Although we are going to rent a car because of where we're going from the airport to this village, which I guess is where Vincent van Gogh grew up or family is
Yeah.
from.
Hmm.
And then from there, we're going to go to the hat. Oh, I always mess this up. Is it the Hag? I think it's the Hag. Am I saying that right?
That sounds right to me, but I'm not sure.
Okay, if I'm saying it wrong, I promise I am practicing, and I don't know why I have like a mental block on that. Then we're gonna go over there
Hmm.
for the end of it. But so that's one thing. Someone did tell us do not drive even 3 kilometers over the speed limit. Like which I
Oh.
guess is like about a little over a mile or something over speed limit. Um, like they will like they're on it. So I'm like, okay, that note to self,
Yeah.
Gerson will be the one driving
Oh,
because
he is right. Oh,
he'll be
you
the
guys
one
are renting a
driving.
car.
Yeah, so because I feel like I can be a little heavy on the pedal sometimes. But that makes sense. If it's a heavy bike culture, it's like you don't
Right.
want to take anybody out, like
Yeah. Be safe.
um yeah, and so certain things like that. Their food seems really interesting to me. Like I keep seeing these videos of like I guess this so bread seems to be a huge part of the culture over there.
Uh-huh.
We'll see if that's true. Where it's over here, it's like, almost like anti-carbs and bread and all of that. So bread's a huge part in cheese, different like certain cheeses.
Hmm.
Um, which will also be interesting for my lactose, which I'll
Oh
say
yeah.
I may
I
come back with some
know.
gnarly goat stories. But so the bread, like they have, I guess they make like a toast and they put some butter and then they put like sprinkles on top. Like the chocolate sprinkles you put like on ice cream?
Oh, yeah, like
That's what they put.
candy
Yeah,
sprinkles.
they put sprinkles on their toast. So I keep
Okay.
seeing this. So I'm really curious to see how much truth there is to that when
Right.
we get there. A lot of
Hmm.
their meats and the things that they eat there, seeing a lot of like fried foods, like so I'm just really curious about the food. I also feel like you can get to know a culture through food as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love being able to like kind of investigate what that looks like. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah, so we'll see. So like I said, but by the time everyone listens to this, we'll probably be just getting back.
Hmm.
And then we'll be moving into our time off because you and I are going to take some time off.
Hmm.
And I am taking a sabbatical in August. So I will be landing and going right into that sabbatical. Um, and I really like being able to take a pause whenever we can, especially in different endeavors and things that we're doing, to pause
Hmm.
and Larissa, you're exactly the same way in this, where it's like, let's just look back and let's just review and just see, hey, how did I enjoy that? What was that like? What
Hmm.
did I learn from that? Because I think both of us are really resistant to living our lives at a pace where we're just kind of bulldozing our way through. We just keep going, 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 going. I have found personally that the looking back is what energizes me towards what is next. When
Hmm.
I'm hiking, um, and I get tired or something, and I can pause and I can look back. It's my favorite thing to do is to point out to the family, look, we walked up that hill,
Hmm.
like we did that, and it really kind of boosts your energy. And okay, we can take the next leg of the journey. And so you and I talked about having this time to be a time before we take some time off to look back at our first season of doing this podcast together and to kind of think about like, what did we enjoy? What did we learn about each
Hmm.
other, about ourselves? What are we hopeful for? And so this is that pause just to
Yeah.
see what did we enjoy about it. So I guess in doing that, I'm also trying to like remember why did we start doing this in the first place? Um,
Yeah.
what what was it that sparked us to do something like this? Do you remember?
I mean, I remember like us really enjoying other ways that you and I've partnered together. I think that is something that
Yes.
stands out. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't the first quote unquote project or
Right.
thing that we've worked on and partnered together on. And in
Mm-hmm.
the past, there have been different iterations of that, um, and different seasons. And I think every time, at least on my end, I'm like, I really love working with you. I love the friendship element. I love our communication styles. We're a good fit for one another, I think, in so
Yeah.
many ways. And which isn't always the case, right? Like
Right.
it doesn't always work out that way. And
Right.
but I think at least initially, yeah, it seemed like you and we had wrapped up a couple other projects, right? And those had
Mm-hmm.
finished or been completed. And I think maybe part of it was being open to, okay, what's next for us together? I think that was
Right.
a thing. I think also like this podcast format and these conversational dialogues. Um, I remember both of us really feeling like this might be a really great place to process our own thoughts and feelings about life and also open that up to one another and to others, like a
Yeah,
wider audience, and kind of this sense of perhaps a wider audience listening in on some of this dialogue might be really beneficial. And I don't even know if I had a clearer sense than that, like the
yeah,
might be beneficial or might be helpful to others. But it was this feeling like, I think it might, and let's try this out. I don't know how
yeah,
this will work. There was a lot of, we're just exploring this and seeing if it works well and if it fits well. Um, I think those were some of the initial thoughts and
yeah.
feelings. What about, yeah, what would you add to
No, I
that?
agree. I agree. We were coming off of some projects that had we had wrapped up, and yeah, we definitely enjoyed working together. It didn't feel like we were having to stretch anything. We were could it was felt very natural, like we didn't have to, which is fine. I think as part of like just stretching when you're working in other areas that you have to maybe like heighten this part of yourself, kind of
Hmm.
maybe bring this other part like down a little bit. And but you and I interacting has always felt like we don't have to really do that, like we just kind of come in as we are and just do
Hmm.
the thing. I think we like the idea of it being not too scripted as well. There's a little bit of, you're a little risk taking in that, but not being too scripted. And yeah, the conversations that you and I have, the questions that we have, the things that we wrestle with, things we're involved in life. We're not the only ones, and just wanting to normalize that for people. I think there was something else that came up was that, and that's why we called it the Serene-ish Podcast, is that both you and I are in these spaces of soul care, spiritual
Hmm.
formation, a lot of things that people would look at. And you think about centering practices and breath work and living your life at maybe a not such a hectic, crazy pace and all of that. And it can give this false image, not that we're being false, it's a misunderstanding
Hmm.
that, oh my goodness, that must be how they live their life every day. It's always just
Right.
calm and serene, and they're so connected to the earth and all these things. Well, you and I are talking about stuff like I'm about to pull my hair out. I'm about to pull
Hmm.
his hair out. Well, my husband's hair, he doesn't have any hair. So, we're about to do all these things. Like, it's driving me crazy. And I can't believe this happened. Da, da, da. And it's
Hmm.
and it's just this is the reality. And we wanted to expose that and I guess shed light on that not every day, every moment is just serene.
Right.
And I don't think you get there.
Hmm.
I think you'd have to do something really drastic,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, move somewhere like you just don't get there. And so it's more of it's just that's where the serene-ish comes in.
Hmm.
We have things that happen and we have moments, um and we're just two women doing our best, and God's
Doing
okay
our
with
best.
that. He
Right.
welcomes that. He's
Right.
like, you're doing your best, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah. And I would add to that too. It's like there's like the serene-ish element, and part of the serene-ish is also, right, trying to be people of great faith, like, right, like spiritually formed people, and
Yeah,
also recognizing we're humans and we're, again, like we are in practice, in process. We are
yeah,
learning, we're curious, we are not experts, we haven't figured it
no,
out. And I think that's definitely an element that I think we were hoping for. And if we're getting into like, well, what has happened or how has it been? I feel
yeah,
like really glad for this space being that, in a
yeah,
sense, even for me personally, right? Like I think these conversations or even opening this up to others, it's been a really great experience of even reminding me in the midst of my
mm-hmm,
life outside of doing the podcast, like it's okay. I'm still learning how to
right.
do life in a way that lines up with my values or my faith or what God is doing. And it's all right to be in process.
Yeah, yeah, and that's really important for us to remember, because I don't know how it happens or where it happens, but I think for a lot of us, we feel like there's a place where we should kind of be done. We should have learned the things, not even with this egotistical mindset of like I've arrived. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
talking about that. I'm just there's just something in us that just even when we use language about who's a spiritual baby, who's a baby in the
Mm.
faith, who's a baby, and who are the spiritually mature, as if these
Yeah.
are the two, like, you start here, you end here. But do
Mm-hmm.
you ever fully mature? Isn't there still things evolving and learning and all of
Mm-hmm.
that? And this has been one of those spaces that continues to remind me of I am still learning. I'm still evolving. I'm 55. I haven't arrived.
Right.
There's some things that I'm going to probably look back if I'm gifted with another 10 years and just look back at 55-year-old Brenda and be like, oh, dang, girl,
Mm-hmm.
you thought you knew. But
Mm-hmm.
now, but. So yeah, so just having that space. What I also really have enjoyed is thinking about age is that we're in two different brackets too when it comes to our age.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that we can share these stories in two different stages of life. You still have
Mm-hmm.
kids like in school, high school, and like, and mine are young adults now. Um, and I love that we can share those stories and there isn't, it just feels like there's like overlap, like it
Mm-hmm.
flows in there, learning from each other and reminders for each other. There isn't like a one over the other or like anything like that. Like, is like, and I love when we can have different generations, different stages of life, like walking together in that. And I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed that. I love just hearing you guys with your kids and parenting and challenges and adventures, and because this is a different time of raising kids than when my kids were younger too,
Mm-hmm.
right? So hearing what those challenges are and how you guys are pouring into your kids and your family. So I've enjoyed that too, being able to
Yeah.
come from different perspectives when it comes to different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. What else do you feel like has been life-giving about this, or maybe even surprising, or things that we've learned along the way? Do you feel like, yeah, we've done 10 episodes, a whole
Mm-hmm.
variety of topics, but all topics I would say like really resonated for us personally, right?
Yeah.
This is just for the listeners. Like, we're never hitting on topics that don't feel connected to our lives, which
Yeah.
might be obvious, but I think there's something about like these are all things that we have, thoughts and feelings about, but also are in process with. And so I don't know, we've done a variety of things, right? Like race and culture and being women and our prayer lives and how we rest and how we work, right? All these
Mm-hmm.
different parenting. Um, but yeah, I guess what else, what has felt like surprising or things that we've learned as we've done it?
What comes to mind for me is because we are being so honest and raw sounds like such a strong word. It's not that. And organic feels overused. You know what I mean? Like, but we're literally sharing our lives. Like, no joke, we're
Right.
sharing our lives. It feels very vulnerable too.
Mhm.
And not overwhelmingly
Mhm.
vulnerable, like where I've thought about, like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. But I have had those moments of like reminders and realizations. I don't know who's going to hear this, but I'm about to share. I'm
Right.
about to share something. I'm saying, or as I'm saying it, like we're talking, and as I'm saying the words, there's this, Brenda over here looking in, saying, "Do you realize what's coming out of your mouth right now?" Like,
Mhm.
and it's not that I wouldn't say it to other people, but these maybe would be things I would have in personal conversations, face to
Right.
face with someone in a certain context, maybe if I'm speaking somewhere, at least they can come and talk to me. When you're doing something like this, I don't
Mhm.
know who's listening. And
Mhm.
I may not get the luxury of like sitting down and talking to them if they have questions. So
Right.
I don't know how they're going to walk away with their interpretation of what it is that we're sharing about our experiences. And so that leaves you vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
because you don't get to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that has been something that I don't know how much I've experienced that in the past. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even when I've spoken and it's like a large crowd, I know like not everyone's going to come and talk to me, but there's something about still being people, like in the flesh.
Right.
Here,
Right.
you're so disconnected because I can't see anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're that I think was maybe a little surprising, um, and inviting at the same time because I need to trust.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to speak the truth. This is what my experience has been. We're not trying to put it on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just have to like just let it be, just let it trust. I mean, that part's hard.
Yeah,
That
that
part's
part is
hard.
interesting. I like, yeah, and I think there have been, same as you, I think I've experienced different, maybe depending on what we're talking about or, how it's being shared. I think greater or lesser degrees of vulnerability too. Like, uh, yeah, I think there have been times where I'm aware, like, oh, I might be sharing something that even people I know in real life may have their own feelings about, and are they going to come and talk to me about it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And or I think, or back to the in process thing, like we're also sharing in a way for us right now, right? Like
Yeah.
kind of this also the reality, like, well, because we're still learning,
Yeah.
there's a vulnerability of putting it out there like a time capsule, like a this is us right now. Who knows how we're going to feel and think, 5 years later. It might be
Yeah.
like, the experience of like opening up old journals or diaries and you're like,
Yeah.
this was me in middle school. Holy
Yep.
smokes. Yikes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, maybe that is going to be, but I think, yeah, like you're saying, there's this element of maybe courage to like, okay, we're believing that at least for right now, this is a thing that is hopefully valuable to us and to others.
Yeah.
And kind of risky in that same way. Like there's a risk of vulnerability, there's a risk of like sharing
Right.
things, opening that up our real lives to
Yeah.
who knows, like people who might, yeah, I don't know, dismiss
Have it
it
told.
or
Yeah.
disagree or
Yeah. And then the other vulnerable part is that we have allowed ourselves, we're willing to let this to learn as we go. We're not
right.
waiting for us to have all the pieces in like perfect places to have everything figured out.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to be speaking at this conference that we're going to in the Netherlands, and it's just a short reflection, but it's going to be talking about uncertainty.
Hmm.
And one of the things I'm going to be sharing is how, we're often invited to take a step into the water before the waters are like he parts the sea, so to speak. He parts the Jordan River.
Hmm.
The Levites were asked to take the ark, the presence of the representation of God's presence, and to step into the river while it was in its flood stage. And the waters didn't part while they were waiting safely on the shore. They had to take the step. And then that happened. And, and it's not to say that, I'm not talking against planning. Anyone who knows me knows I do believe in do the work, right? Like learn, grow, do your
Hmm.
research, do the training, ask the question, all of that. But there's also this thing about uncertainty that invites us to take a step into the water and then let the waters part and it'll be unfolded, in front of us. And
Hmm.
we've kind of done that where there were certain things like meetings that you and I had before we started actually recording and we figured out, okay, we want to do these many recordings before we actually launched. And then we want to be able to maybe try this format and here's what we value and here's what we don't want. We had I think quite a few
Hmm.
conversations like that. Um, but not every question was answered. Not everything
Right.
was figured out. We took a step in. And if you notice, if you listen to maybe the first couple or maybe two or three podcasts, it's probably now start to feels different as it's over.
Hmm.
You said we did 10. Is that how many we
Yeah.
did?
Hmm.
I'm sure if you listen to the first few, it's going to feel a little different to where
Right.
we've landed now. I think those first few, we even had like some reflection questions. Like we were just kind of like figuring it out. And then we're like, no, I don't think we want to do that. That's what the Substack would be for. Let's just talk like this. So then we did it
Hmm.
that way. So to the outside eye and understanding, it may seem like it seems maybe a little um haphazard or, kind of like this, I don't messy. I don't, but what we're doing is we're saying, hey, who wants to go for the ride with us while we figure this out? You
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. That's been fun. I've liked us. I mean, this is even why we're having this conversation and opening this up as a recorded podcast episode, right? Like kind of pulling back the curtains a little bit and
Yeah.
maybe debriefing or kind of just like looking at surveying the lay of the land, like you said. Like we're looking
Mhm.
back and thinking about, okay, where are we at now? What has brought us here? Are there things that we are hoping for or looking ahead toward that
Yeah.
are the same, different? Like, how, what is that like? So I really love that element of co-creating something with you. And now that we have some level of audience, right? Like, even that element of, okay, hopefully we're bringing others into these conversations in different ways.
Yeah.
And now that we've kind of set a tone or set an ethos of how we are doing this. But yeah, that's been really, I love that we pause and like look and don't, like you said, we're not just plowing through blindly with plans that were set in motion at the
Yeah.
beginning, but we're kind
Right.
of gradually shaping. This thing is continuing to take shape.
Right. Right. And it reminds me of how like we can build these machines, right? And these different processes and everything, and they're meant to serve us. And what ends up happening is that we end up serving it.
Hmm.
And so the podcast is like a vehicle, right? And we just want to make sure that we're not the ones serving it, setting
Hmm.
the schedule and the pace and all of this, but it's serving us. This is a platform where we get to be able to open up the conversation a little bit more. And so just trying to make sure that that's what it is that we're doing.
Hmm.
Did you have like a favorite? I'm trying to remember the topics, but did you have like a favorite or maybe one that was like the more challenging one for you? Or I'm
I'm
trying to think
pulling
back.
up the list of stuff that we've done.
Yeah. Give
Let's
me the
see.
list.
Right. So we did a welcome episode for episode 1. In
Uh-huh.
episode 2, we did peace for our mind, body, spirit.
Okay.
So it's kind of like this like holistic experiencing peace and trying to move towards that. In episode 3, we did when words wound. So
Mhm.
when kind of dealing with like things that have been hurtful, the public discourse that was happening around Trump and
Oh,
all that.
yeah.
Um, we did episode 4 was wisdom of the body, so paying attention to the messages our body is offering to us. Episode 5, we talked about reclaiming land with my work with Ino and Naivi, the Native
Yeah.
Hawaiian nonprofit that I'm a part of. Then episode 6, we did spirituality on the margins, which was right like
Okay.
kind of faith community that isn't in traditional church spaces.
Yeah.
Let's see, recap. We're doing a recap. Episode 7, we did melancholy, apathy, and hope. And we are talking about like kind of the changes and shifts in our right emotional world and how we kind of move through life given things like apathy and melancholy. Episode 8 was holding space for others. So listening to folks and really creating safe presence for others. And then we did a part 2 of that same one for episode 9. And then we wrapped with just doing just enough. So, kind of the idea of like,
Mm,
how are we paying attention to what's essentially ours to do, and how are we creating
yeah.
margins around those
Yeah.
things?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think to answer your question, were you asking like what stands out as maybe more challenging?
More challenging or which one maybe you really enjoyed? Like, yeah. What
Yeah.
stands out for you?
I really thought that our two-part on holding space for others, I said this probably in one of those episodes or at the beginning, but like the fact that you and I are very intentionally people who do that in our lives. We try to offer compassionate, empathetic presence in a way that creates safety for others to process hard things or their own lives or deep things that are maybe mid process, right? Holding liminal space for others. Um, I really loved those two conversations, mostly because you and I both do that. And so I felt like, oh my gosh, there's so many ways that I've thought about this, but it was really great for me to hear you and like, how do you approach this?
Yeah.
The same like hope or the same intention, but you're obviously a different person and you're wired differently.
Right.
So kind of, it felt like this really dynamic conversation where both of us
Yeah.
were really exploring that with a lot of thought, but also I don't know, open to hearing from one another.
Right.
I really
Right.
liked
And we
that.
didn't even plan for that to be a two-part.
No,
It
right.
just became where we got to the end and we're like, yeah, I think there's more we want to say on this. And we're gonna
Hmm.
just on the
Right.
fly, we're gonna just do a second part to this. Yeah, I do remember that one. I like that one. I also really enjoyed what the one where we talked about I think this is a church or faith on the margins. That
Yeah,
was the one.
spirituality on the margins.
Spirituality on the margins. And
Mm.
that one I enjoyed it and was felt challenged and like I said, the vulnerability part of it because I don't know who people in my life are gonna listen to that. And then wondering, like you said, if they don't agree, if they have a question about it, whatnot, will they come to me? Will they ask
Hmm.
me this? Right? Because
Yeah.
I'm not, that's what we were talking about in that space, is not how I grew up. This is
Right.
a shift that's happened to me, in the last whatever, like 7, 10 years. So
Hmm.
yeah, so that one was one that I enjoyed and was a little challenged in.
Right. Okay, wait. You don't have to name names, but has anybody over the course of this first season reached out to you and been like, "Hey Brenda, what was up with that?" Right? Like in a way that felt weird?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, no. And I don't know if that means that no one I know is listening. So I don't know. That could be it too.
Right.
But I no, nobody has. And so,
Hmm.
and maybe the ones, if they are listening, they maybe that we've already had these conversations or they've
Right.
been on this transition as well. So it's nothing new to them. The
Hmm.
ones that maybe have seen this happening from afar, I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
I haven't heard from anybody about it, so I don't know. But
Right.
yeah, so that was one. And then there was another one that you mentioned. Oh man, it was about the margins. And then what was was it 8 or 9?
Well, that was Holding Space. Nine was Holding Space Part Two.
Oh,
Something earlier.
maybe it was before that. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to remember. Hmm.
Something that felt kind of challenging to do.
God, I just remember when you said the title, it just stood out. Maybe it'll come to me. It just stood
Yeah.
out that it was a good conversation too that I enjoyed. But um yeah, I think there was one you said that we did. It was sort of we did it and you edited it quick enough. Like we had a pretty
Oh,
quick turnaround.
that was number three, episode three, When Words Wound.
Yeah.
And we're talking about some of the racial
Yes.
things that
Yes.
were happening from the
Oh
current
my goodness.
administration.
Oh
Right. And just, I mean, we can say this to listeners, like we actually inserted, that was not in our original plan. That was one
no.
of the key episodes or a unique episode, I would say, because it was shaped by current events and
Right.
we wanted to have a conversation. There was some thought put into that. And then we kind of fast tracked that episode and like inserted it into our original scaffolding of a plan. So,
Right.
and I think that was the only one that we did that, but it
I think
felt
so.
more, it was more, had a relationship with current events. So we felt like
Yeah.
we want to put this out earlier if we can. Right?
Right, because we had recorded several episodes ahead of time so that we could just focus on figuring out like launching, posting, and all that,
Yeah.
and rhythm for ourselves. what scheduling time looks like, because of your schedule and my schedule, you're doing the editing. So what does that look like? So we had
Right.
already pre-recorded most of the episodes that we put out, and that was the only one that we decided was going to be like almost in real time. Um, yeah,
It
and
got
that
a, for those who go to Disneyland, it got the fast pass to
it got the fast pass.
to
There
the
you
line.
go. It did. It did. And that was something new to try out and for us to talk about, would we want to do things like that? And
Mhm.
man, there's so many things. I mean, we just finished up the World Cup. So many
Boy,
things to talk about.
so many things.
So many things. I actually started bouncing off of social media
Mhm.
because it's like I just really want to enjoy the games,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I don't want to, I'm not trying to be ignorant of things. I'm never like, no. At the same time, there's like there's always something. There's always going to be something.
Right.
Every
Always
one of us
people's,
is
other
guilty of.
people's opinions or responses or layers of that. People responding
Yeah.
to other people's responses. And it's like,
Oh my
sometimes
goodness.
that
So
really affects it.
right. And yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Anyway.
so as we look forward though,
Yes. Yes.
would we want to? I mean, that's something for you and I guess to consider. And I think in this, we would also really love to hear from our listeners. What are some things that you would like to hear us talk about?
Mhm.
And we would absolutely relish your feedback.
Yeah.
And if that's something that we feel like, hey, this has been part of either both of our lives or one of our lives, and we can speak into like our
Mhm.
own lived experiences. Again, we're not experts in like all the things, so we're not trying to
Mhm.
say this is how you do it. We're just going to bring our lived experiences and what we've learned from these things, right?
Right.
Then we would love to be able to see if we can engage that conversation. But one of the questions that I've held is, do would we want to do some more um I guess fast pass type podcasts, the
Uh-huh.
Disney fast pass podcast
Mhm.
of, hey, when something's going on that we would do something like that. How did you feel, outside of obviously we would always need to make sure we're taking time into consideration, like what your scheduling looks like. um how did that feel to just really be speaking into something that was like literally unfolding as we
Right.
were talking?
Yeah, that one was interesting on my end, practical things aside. So, right,
Yeah.
like, but I think mentally or emotionally, I it was it felt good in the sense of I'm exercising some muscles that I don't usually do. And what I mean by that is I'm usually not very public with my in live time
Mm-hmm.
feelings, especially when those feelings include sadness or anger or grief
Yeah.
or things that are just a little more nuanced in how I communicate them, right? Different than, oh, I watched this movie and show and I really enjoyed it, right? But like,
Right, right.
this thing is happening and I have all kinds of feelings. And so I think for me, it was, I really liked it. And it, that was a vulnerable one, at least me, for me, like, I'm putting out there how how we're thinking about this now, where literally it's still, right, there's a liveness to it.
Yeah.
And we're recording it and we're putting it out. So I think that one, yeah, I don't know. I think I would be open to those kinds of things. And I guess a question on my mind generally is the, well, what are my in lifetime thoughts and feelings about this adding to the discourse versus creating
Mm-hmm.
more noise in a space and time that feels already very saturated with other people's thoughts and opinions. And
Right.
so I don't totally know what to do with that question. I'm not even sure if I'm floating it out there as like, oh, let's answer that. But I'm generally kind of hesitant. And this is why I'm usually off of social media because I'm like, I don't think what I would be adding is of value. And if it's not of value, then
Yeah.
I don't really want to put it out there.
Right. No, I
You
think
know
it's
what I
a good
mean?
discerning question to ask, because
Right.
if we don't want to just add to the noise. Absolutely. And I think that's one that I do try to ask myself too before I share something or I write something. I don't want to add to that. What I try to use to keep me on and maybe in a place that I feel more comfortable with is how am I maybe helping people to
Mm-hmm.
navigate some of the noise that's out there.
Right. Right.
And so kind of bringing us back to humanity
Mm-hmm.
and not saying that, not trying to play the middle ground, because obviously if what's wrong is wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, there's a way to navigate that. It's giving
Right.
ourselves permission, whoever's listening, that if this is too much, it's okay
Right.
to turn it off. It doesn't mean that you don't care. It just means you need to hit pause. You want maybe do something else. Maybe you're going to approach it from this direction. So I think if our voices can help in how to navigate the noise, maybe even reminding people you can turn it off, you can do it another way. Um, I would be comfortable with that. But I do think there's wisdom in always asking ourselves if we do something like that again, um, are we just adding to the noise? Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do that either. There's enough
Mm-hmm.
of it. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, these are good discussions. So listeners, if you have input
yeah.
on, yeah, if those kinds of elements could be helpful or
Yeah.
welcomed, again, back to what you were saying earlier, Brenda, like this is I don't know, kind of a space where we're opening it up in some ways to listeners to voice their own opinions as
Yeah.
well, based on things that they've heard from us or things that they want to ask us to, I don't know, topics that they would like to hear in the future. So I like that. I like that element of checking in with others too,
Yeah.
as well as ourselves.
A few other things I would love to hear if anyone wants to us to talk about them, would be things like maybe certain books that we've read or movies that we've seen, like our thoughts on them, impacts we've seen, even like, we're talking about traveling. What
Mhm.
is like, just like, how do we connect with communities when we're traveling? You and I are using language that I think is very common for the two of us, where we're very conscientious of how, like, what kind of visitors we are when we're coming
Mhm.
into another country or another place or another culture. Maybe even unpacking that a little bit, like, what does that
Mhm.
even mean? Like, I'm just going to go on vacation over here. What are you talking about? Right.
Mhm.
How we don't do that well and how we can do that well.
Mhm.
Right. So maybe having some talk, conversations about that. um so yeah, there'd be a variety of topics that we could, because there's, a couple books I've read that I'm like, oh, I'd love to be able to talk about that book. Or movie, we just saw the Odyssey.
Oh my God,
Oh,
I just saw it.
oh my goodness, right?
It was
That
so good.
so good.
Yeah.
So good. And I've read the book, oh, mm, Menopause Brain. Oh my goodness. So many people were talking about this book. I don't know if you've read it or if you've heard of it. It's the story of this old man who buys
Oh, gold. Wait.
gold, Theo of Golden.
Yeah, I haven't read it
That's
yet,
the
but it's
one.
on my to read list. I remember you saying you read it. Yeah,
Yes, so that would be one that I would love to
yeah.
talk about. Like, that's, and and I'm reading another one right now. But anyways, so if there's books, if you want to hear us talk about maybe different books that we're reading or movies that we've seen, our family loves movies. We just love movies. Or like stepping into other cultures,
Hmm.
like we can talk some about that, maybe some of our hobbies, what's a new hobby we're doing, things of that sort. There's a ton for us to talk about. So please, and where can everyone put their ideas? Should we
I
put
mean,
that
we
on?
have our Substack. You can
Yes.
message us in the chat through Substack.
Uh-huh.
I'm
You can
pretty sure.
comment on
Uh,
there on Substack.
yes, and we have a Serene-ish Gmail account.
We do. We do.
Is it
Which
the
would be
Serene-ish
on even like on like
Podcast?
depending on the platform, right? That they're listening to this. They could, I think they can even comment there, right? So we can put our email. We can put our Serenish
We'll put our
Gmail.
email somewhere. Yeah, it's probably honored the Substack somewhere. But
Yeah. See,
yeah,
this is us
reach
learning
out
as
to
we
us.
go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Guys, this is us figuring it out. We yeah, I mean, at some point we also could I can't remember if we talked about this, but potentially putting out a listener survey that we could
Oh,
collect thoughts
yes.
on. But anyway, whatever. We'll figure that out. And if we do that, we'll let listeners know somehow.
Yes. Good idea. I like that. I do like that.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah. Was there anything else? I mean, before we start to wrap up, was there anything else about, okay, we looked back, we kind of identified how we're doing, what we're looking ahead towards. So,
No.
I
Oh,
mean,
so
this is so obvious, but we listeners, we would love to continue doing this podcast. So we've done season one. This is our marker for kind of the end and the wrap up of that season. But we are planning and looking ahead to season two that will be coming. And yeah, I mean, we are excited to continue
yeah.
doing this.
Yeah. And I think, did we say when we're going to come back? Are we thinking like maybe mid-September?
Yeah, I think in the fall, I feel like
Yeah.
that's when we kind of slotted in.
Right. Yeah. So be looking for us somewhere, yeah, in the fall.
Hmm.
But we are going to be coming back and we are going to be gathering our stories and our life experiences over the past year
Hmm.
and then looking and seeing what your feedback, what you give us. And we would love to be able to keep the conversations going. So yeah, we will be back. Looking forward
Hmm.
to it.
Hmm.
Definitely looking forward to it.
Wait,
So
and then, oh yeah, go.
we also want to end, and this is one of our learning experiences that we realize that we haven't always ended with this question. And so we're going to commit to doing better with this. But we had at the beginning of this podcast of the whole platform, we were talking about having these goat moments, and we joked about goat yoga, and neither one of us have done it, but just that was like the ultimate image of what you would think would be serene. And then you're dealing with these goats that are climbing on you. And so we were asking each other each episode, like, what was a goat moment you had this week? So we want to make sure that we keep doing that, stay consistent. So, Larissa, I'll start because I feel like you're going to have a great one, and I
Okay,
want
you
to end
start.
on a great one. So I don't feel like mine's going to be a great
That's a
one.
lot of
I want
pressure.
to end on a high here, so I'll go first. My goat moment, most recently was so we have to buy these the tickets for this conference, right?
Hmm.
And I did mine separately because I have my own account with this organization. And then I was going to buy my husband's and my son's do theirs separately because we were going to just pay for that. And we did that. And this was like a couple of months ago. So this
Hmm.
whole time putting together, we should be ready. We should be ready. And then like a couple of days ago, I'm asking the guys about, hey guys, so you have your making sure everyone's got everything they need, passports, apps, all of these things, right?
Yes.
And they tell me we don't have a ticket for the conference. Like, what do you mean you don't have a ticket? Like, no, you text us that you purchased our ticket, but
Mhm.
so my brain starts going hyper fast, and I'm like, well, if I told you that I bought you guys the ticket already, wouldn't you have automatically gone and looked for the ticket? And like, but you didn't tell us to look for a ticket. We didn't know there was
Uh-huh.
a ticket to look for. It was this whole thing, and they thought it was connected to my ticket. And so now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we bought our plane tickets. We've rented the car. They've taken the time, like done all the things, and they don't have a ticket to the conference. Okay. So that's the
Mhm.
goat jumping on my back in
Mhm.
the midst of it was all going really smooth. And then I started to breathe. And I said, okay, you know what? No, we're not going to freak out about this.
Uh-huh.
We'll be fine. I was pretty sure it was just a mix up somewhere because I'd already had conversations with some of the people planning it. They knew about Gerson and Brenson coming. Like, it's just a mix up somewhere. It's fine.
Mhm.
And if we get there and they only have the one room for me and they don't have enough space at this monastery, That's fine too. Brenson will stay there because he's shooting the event. So he'll have his
Mhm.
camera gear. He'll stay there. And Gersten and I will rent a room and we'll figure out all the financial part of this like
Yeah.
later. Like it'll be fine. It's gonna be fine. And I just let it go. I
Mhm.
messaged, the people and just said, anyway. So it turns out that when I purchased their tickets, I purchased it under my work email with this organization. And
Oh.
so it was, I had their tickets. I'm like, oh, so I scroll and I'm put this
Mhm.
right, and lo and behold, there's their tickets. So everyone
Crisis
has tickets.
averted.
Crisis averted, but yes, just for a moment, the goat got on my back, and I was like, oh, this is not good. But then I started breathing, and I was fine. So
It was fine. Oh, thank goodness. I'm glad you guys figured that out. But yes,
yeah,
I can imagine the panic or like the kind of the flood of stress, whatever that, yeah.
yeah.
What's the name of the stress hormone that happens like
I don't
is
know.
it cortisol or something else? I'm so
Oh, I
bad.
think it might be cortisol.
Okay.
You're right, because that is the thing you hear a lot about when you hit a certain age and menopause, that
Oh,
your levels, I think, start
are
to go
higher?
up, go higher. Okay, this
Oh.
becomes a whole thing. Go higher,
Ooh.
and that impacts the weight, like they call menopause weight, your
Yeah,
hormones, all
you
that,
keep weight
and
on.
that little pouch that we tend to get right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
that
pudge.
impacts that too. Yes.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
kid will like lie on my stomach and is like, "There's your stomach is so soft, Mom." I'm like,
No.
"Thanks."
No.
It's fine. I'm cozier. I'm cozier because of that.
It's fine. It's fine. We're all fine.
Okay. Okay, my real
Okay.
quick.
Yes.
I know we're like this is a lot of time. But my goat moment, yes. Okay, back to going being in Japan.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We're on the train. This is the last day of our trip. So the plan is we're in Tokyo. We need to get on the train and actually with several transfers. So several transfers on the public train, which back to what I had already said, super busy. And we're
Right.
doing this during like rush hour in the evening or in the afternoon. So it's like even busier. But the plan is to get on the train, do some transfers, and get to the airport. And you know that whole thing of like, for international travel, get to the airport at least X amount of time because you don't really
Right.
know what's going to happen when you're in security, when they're checking visas and passports. Like, there's just so many other elements to that travel,
Right.
right? Okay. So we have a great mapped out plan. And like it's written in a note that Steve and I both have. It's like with all of the information that both of us, that we all need, what time we need to be at the airport, what time we need to be on the train. So it's all like, worked backwards. So that means like we have to leave our lodgings at this time and get on this train at this time. Right. It's like mapped out.
Yeah.
So everything is going according to plan. And so we transfer. We're on several trains. It's busy, but we've made it work. We're also like lugging around our luggage, right? Because we're
Yeah.
going to the airport. This is on a return trip back from Japan to home.
And you
Um,
have kids
we have
and
guys,
they
we
have
have
their luggage.
four kids.
Yep.
Everybody has a backpack and their luggage, like one suitcase. So every transfer, it's like we're counting the heads of the people in our
Yep.
family, making sure we have everybody and the luggage, right? Okay, so finally we make it onto the last leg of the train of the journey to get to
Uh-huh.
the airport. So we're not at the
Uh-huh.
airport yet. We're on the last train. And on this train, you're not just standing with your luggage. Your luggage is actually like in this one bin near the front of the door of the car that you're in on the train, if that makes sense.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so if
Yeah.
the train pauses and you're on the train, you need to like walk over towards the exit, get your suitcase off like a shelf in the midst of a ton of other people's suitcases, and then exit the train.
Okay.
Okay, we are in the middle of doing that. We're like, get our train is stopped and it's at Terminal 2 at the airport in Tokyo. The train has stopped. We're unloading our luggage. So Steve grabs his suitcase and helps Austin with his. Aaron gets his suitcase. Okay, so the three males in the family are like walking out the door. I'm grabbing Arya's suitcase. I hand
Oh,
it to her. and the doors of the train
No,
start closing.
no.
And Arya is like, huh? And she's like,
Oh.
okay, so the doors close. So
Uh-huh.
me, Alex, and Arya, the three girls, and our luggage are on the train, and the rest of our family are like on the platform at the airport where we're all supposed to be, and the doors close, and our train moves.
No. Oh my goodness.
And I the cortisol floods my brain, and I'm like, what do I do? So I quickly text Steve. I mean, he's obviously texting me. We're like sending quick messages. He's like, okay, get off at the next stop and then figure out how to get back in the other direction on either that the same
Yeah.
train going in the other direction, or you have to figure it out. So, okay, so suddenly I am now like needing to figure out a new plan so that we don't
Your flight.
miss the flight or
Yeah.
whatever. And we're in a new space and I'm like using Chat GBT and like Google Translate trying to figure out like what okay. So long story short, we like get off at the next stop. I'm having to ask multiple Japanese like staff and security like, "Hi, do you speak any English?" Right? Like not everyone speaks English. So, "Do you
No.
speak English?" And I'm trying to explain the problem. I'm like, "We bought a ticket. It had to go this way and we didn't get off at our correct stop." So one staff person, she in Japanese, and we had to use Google Translate. She's like, okay, just you need to take shuttle number 6, and you have to go upstairs to get onto that shuttle. Make sure it's number 6. There's like a whole series of like explanation that she's giving me. I'm like,
Wow.
okay, please, Lord, baby Jesus, let us get on the right
Wow.
thing. So I walk upstairs. I'm looking around for trying to follow the directions that I was given. I cannot find, and meanwhile, the girls are like with me, lugging their suitcases. I'm trying not to like panic. You know what I mean? I'm trying
Yeah.
to okay, breathe and figure out the plan. And what's the plan? We don't know. We got to make it up.
Hmm.
Um, we couldn't find shuttle number 6 that lady talked about, so I have to ask somebody else and re-explain everything upstairs, like, here's the
Oh,
situation. What do we do? And the guy
yeah.
was like, oh, well, the quickest way is blah, blah, blah. And he's speaking in Japanese. And he gives me a different alternative to what the other lady had said. So now I'm faced with, like,
What
you've
do
been
you
given
do?
two plans and now you have to
Yeah.
decide. So I'm like, okay, let's try and follow what this guy said. It's very different, but I'm going to trust that he understood me, that I understood him, and that nothing
Right.
got lost in translation. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anyway, ultimately that plan worked. We like got
Okay.
on a train going in the correct direction back to the airport. I'm texting Steve like I think we're going to get off at Terminal 2 at the correct thing. He was like, "Okay, text me when you get off the train and we'll try and find you." And again, this is in the middle of like busy Tokyo. So finally, I'm not kidding. I almost cried like when we get
Oh,
off the train and like I find Steve and we
oh,
all reunite and we're like, okay.
I can't even imagine. Oh,
Also, just for the record, I am not known like Steve is the navigator and he like follows the
um,
maps and then he so
it's
that
really
I'm that's
disorienting
it's
then.
very disorienting and it's very stressful for me. So like that is maybe it honestly it ultimately ended up working fine. We figured it out. But in the moment, I had to like, okay, what do I have control over and what am I just trusting that we can figure it out and
Yeah.
like not losing it. You know what I mean? Not losing it
Right.
in the middle of Tokyo in a
I
train.
know. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Well, let me just say, I am so proud of you. Hats off to you. that you didn't just completely break down. Right? I mean, you had this is like a mom, right? Like a parent thing. You have to hold it together. We got to get through this crisis. There'll be time to fall apart later. I need to get my
Right.
kids over here, right?
Right.
But just to have to navigate all, I can't even imagine this. And then to add to that, the language barrier.
Right.
So you're relying on Google Translate to talk to like, see, we could do a whole
And
conversation on tech and
uh-huh.
how it doesn't always have to be such an evil thing.
No,
Like there's
it
some
can be
this
helpful.
it can be very helpful.
It can be
We would just be
helpful too. It was
responsible
very
in our
helpful.
use of it, right?
Right.
Oh my
Right.
goodness.
Anyway, I for the next 30 minutes, I could tell my heart rate was like just elevated. My breathing was a little weird and my body was tense. And I just
Yeah.
back to like the wisdom of our bodies, like
Yeah.
I knew like, okay, let's physically remind your
Yeah.
body that you're safe, that a
Hmm.
crisis was averted, and that even though you experience some stress, like you can wind down from that. I had to like consciously like speak back to my body and be like, you're okay,
Yeah.
we're okay,
Oh, I
and like
bet.
wind down.
I bet I would have to do a whole lot of talking to my body. Um, a sweet treat might be involved in me
Oh,
relaxing my
interesting.
body. A little treat. Yeah, you went through a lot, sweetheart. Here's a little
Yeah.
treat for
Yeah.
you.
Good job.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, this was fun. I'm so glad we got to catch up. I'm so
Yes,
glad we got to connect between our trips. And
absolutely.
yeah, like we were saying, we are so excited for the upcoming season of the Serene-ish podcast with everybody.
Yep. We'll see you guys in the fall.
See ya. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. We truly hope something we shared offered you a little bit of encouragement on your journey.
And if you're enjoying these conversations, we'd love to invite you to our Substack, the Serene-ish Podcast.
It's where we dive even deeper with extra resources, reflections, and even a community chat where we can all keep the conversation going. Just head to the serenishpodcast.substack.com and join us.
Until next time, remember to look for peace, even if it's just a serene-ish kind.